My stepmom Linda really hated me. She didn't see me as her stepson. Instead, she saw me as a reminder of her husband's past that she wanted to forget. She was bitter and secretly planned with a rich woman who recently moved nearby to get rid of me and sell the farm. Their plan was to erase any connection they had with me, but things didn't go as planned, and a surprising twist changed everything, leading to a series of unexpected events that completely changed my life. Hi, I'm Peter, and I'm here to tell you a story that goes through some really dark lies and ends up in the light of redemption. It all started in Walton, Georgia, where I lived on a big chicken farm. It might have seemed peaceful to someone passing by, but for me, it was like a battleground. Despite being just 10 years old, I had to deal with responsibilities that were meant for adults. My mom died while giving birth to me, which was a tragedy that shaped my whole life. After that, my dad turned to alcohol to cope with his grief instead of being there for me. Soon after, he brought Linda into our lives, but she saw me as a constant reminder of a past she wanted to forget. Our so-called home relied on the meager income from our chicken farm. We sold eggs and chickens to get by, but my dad often wasted our money at the bar, leaving us barely scraping by. Every morning, before most people woke up, I was out in the fields feeding the chickens and gathering eggs. My hands became rough and callous from the hard work, even though I never chose this life. School became a distant memory, something for other kids, not for someone like me who had to keep a farm running. But things got worse the day Linda's true intentions came to light. I overheard her talking on the phone, sharp and secretive, discussing a solution to her problems. I didn't understand everything, but I felt it chill nonetheless. That's when Robinson entered the picture. She was a wealthy widow who had recently moved into a mansion nearby. Her arrival caused quite a stir in town. But for Linda, it was an opportunity. I later learned that Linda saw a chance to get rid of me by striking a deal with Robinson. I first encountered Robinson one evening, the sky ablaze with crimson and purple hues. She visited our farm, claiming she was interested in buying it. Her eyes, sharp and observant, seemed to see beyond the surface. Despite a kind demeanor, her presence filled me with an unexplained dread. Linda commanded, "Peter, show Robinson around the farm." Her voice dripped with a false sweetness that didn't reach her eyes. As I guided Robinson around, showing her the coops and feed sheds, her questions went deeper than expected. "You manage all this on your own, Peter?" she asked, her tone holding a mixture of concern and curiosity. "Yes, ma'am. It's hard work, but I handle it," I replied, trying to hide the wariness in my voice, akin to the dirt on my boots. Robinson's gaze lingered on me longer than necessary, her eyes reflecting a storm of thoughts. As we returned to the house, the setting sun cast long shadows, twisting the familiar path into something ominous. That night, as I lay in bed, listening to the distant hoot of an owl, I overheard Linda and my father speaking in hushed tones. They were planning something significant and life-changing. Fragments of their conversation reached me, sending waves of panic through me. "We'll be free of the burden," Linda whispered fervently, "once Robinson takes the farm and him." Their laughter, cold and cruel, drifted up to my small attic room. I lay there, the weight of their plans pressing down on me. What did they mean? Was I the burden they wanted to be rid of? These questions swirled in my mind, each more unsettling than the last as dawn broke. The next morning, I faced the day with a determination I hadn't felt before. I knew I had to take action to uncover what was being schemed behind closed doors. Little did I know, the answers would rock the very core of my world. The day began like any other on the farm, with roosters crowing and chickens bustling about, unaware of the human deceit unfolding around them. But today, I wasn't just going through the motions of chores. I was actively listening and watching for any signs of what was to come. After finishing my usual tasks, I quietly made my way back to the house. The front door was slightly ajar, either a careless mistake or perhaps a providential opportunity. Pressing my ear to the gap, I listened intently. Inside, Linda and my father were engaged in hushed, urgent conversation with Robinson, who had returned under the pretext of finalizing the sale of the farm. "We appreciate your generous offer, Robinson." My father's words were slightly slurred, carrying the remnants of last night's liquor, "and we're ready to move forward. This place and the boy, it's all too much for us now." Robinson's voice, smooth yet sharp, made me shiver. "I understand your situation, and I assure you, I can take care of everything. The farm will be in good hands, and so will Peter." The way she said my name sent a chill down my spine. Was she merely another antagonist in this scheme, or was there something deeper at play? Determined to find answers, I took a risk. Later that day, while Linda was in town and my father was sleeping off another drinking spree, I approached Robinson as she inspected the farm's perimeter. "Robinson," I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "Why do you want to buy our farm, and why are you interested in me?" She studied me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. Then, to my surprise, she sighed. "Peter, sometimes adults have to make difficult decisions. But I promise, whatever happens, I'll make sure you're safe." Her words puzzled me. They hinted at kindness, but the uncertainty of her intentions hung in the air like the Georgia heat. Over the next few days, tension grew at home. Linda's glances were sharp and calculating, and my father avoided my eyes, guilt flickering in his usual indifference. They were planning to leave, I heard them say one night. They spoke of a new life, one without the farm and without me. The day before they were supposed to finalize everything with Robinson, I decided to confront Linda. I found her in the kitchen, packing dishes with more care than she had ever shown to me. "Linda," I said, my voice cracking with fear and anger. "What's going to happen to me?" She froze, then turned slowly, her look pitiless. "Peter, you're going to a better place. Robinson will take good care of you, better than we ever could." "But I don't want to leave," I protested, my voice rising. Linda's face hardened. "It's not about what you want, Peter. It's for the best." That night, unable to sleep, I lay in bed listening to the whispers of the wind through the cracked window. My heart weighed heavy, my future uncertain as the next morning approached, bringing Robinson back to our farm to finalize the sale and supposedly my fate. As dawn crept over the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, I made a decision. I couldn't just wait to see what would happen to me. I needed to act, to escape, to find someone who could help. But just as I was about to sneak out, a car rolled up the driveway. It wasn't just any car, though. It was a police cruiser. Suddenly, everything changed. The doors opened, and two stern-faced officers stepped out, followed by Robinson, determination etched on her face. I was as confused as anyone by the police arriving at our doorstep, my heart pounding with uncertainty. Robinson walked up to the house with purpose, the officers flanking her like guardians of some grim truth yet to be revealed. As they approached, Linda and my father emerged, confusion etched across their faces. They clearly hadn't expected this visit. My father, still groggy from his morning stupor, tried to put on a brave front. "Officers, what brings you to our humble home so early?" he asked, his voice cracking under the strain. "We received a call concerning the welfare of a minor and potential fraudulent activities related to the sale of this property," one of the officers announced. The world seemed to stop spinning for a moment as their words sank in. Linda's face drained of color, and she gripped my father's arm tightly. I watched from my hiding spot behind the doorway, my curiosity battling the waves of fear crashing inside me. Robinson caught my eye and gave a slight nod, as if to reassure me, but her expression was serious, all business. "Peter," she called out, her voice steady and clear. "Could you please come here?" With legs that felt like they were made of lead, I stepped forward, joining the adults under the scrutinizing gaze of the law. "Peter, have your guardians discussed any plans about your future with you?" the other officer asked gently. I glanced at Linda and my father, their faces a mix of fear and guilt. Taking a deep breath, I voiced the truth. "They said I'd be going to live with Robinson because they couldn't take care of me anymore. But I don't know what they meant by that." The officers exchanged a look, and Robinson spoke up. "I never intended to take Peter away without his consent or legal proceedings. I was here to discuss buying the farm. But when I learned about the child's situation, my concerns grew. I contacted you because I feared for his safety and well-being." The officers nodded, turning their attention back to Linda and my father. "We need to check some documents and have a longer conversation about Peter's custody and your financial dealings," one officer said, motioning for them to lead the way inside. As they walked into the house, Robinson stayed behind for a moment with me. "Peter, no matter what happens today, I want you to know that my home is always open to you, and not because of any deal, but because you deserve a safe and loving environment." Her words felt like a warm blanket around my shivering shoulders. I nodded, not fully understanding the legal intricacies, but feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Inside, the officers begin their questioning, pulling out documents that Linda and my father fumbled to explain. It became apparent that there were inconsistencies and possible forgeries in the paperwork related to the farm sale. As the officers dug deeper, Linda's facade finally cracked. It was all his idea, she confessed. Linda burst out, pointing a trembling finger at my father. He wanted to sell the farm and get rid of the kid. I just went along with it. My father, his face now a mask of despair, looked at me, his eyes finally meeting mine. Peter, I'm sorry. I thought it would be better for you. The room spun around me as accusations flew and confessions spilled. The officers took notes, their expressions grim. The betrayal stung, yes, but the unfolding truth also brought a strange relief. Finally, I was seeing the reality of my life laid out in black and white, acknowledged by those who had the power to change it. As morning turned into afternoon, decisions were made. Linda and my father were taken into custody for further questioning, and I was left in the temporary care of Robinson. As we left the farm, I looked back at the only home I had ever known, feeling the weight of my past and the uncertain promise of my future. As we drove away, the landscape of my past receded into a blur of green and gray, a picture fading into the background of my new reality. Seated next to Robinson in the warmth of her car, I felt the first true sense of safety in what seemed like forever. Yet my mind was a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, relief, fear, and a budding hope. Peter, I know today has been difficult, and the days ahead will be a transition, but you're not alone anymore, Robinson said, her voice soothing. She explained that she had been watching the farm for a while, suspecting something was amiss. Her intervention was not just about the property, but more about ensuring my well-being. When we arrived at her estate, it was like stepping into another world. The house was large but welcoming, surrounded by gardens that bloomed with colors so vivid they almost looked surreal. It was a stark contrast to the drab existence I had known. Over the next few days, Robinson took care of the formalities. She was appointed my temporary guardian, and the process to become my official foster parent was set in motion. During this time, I learned more about her. She had been unable to have children, and her husband had passed away a few years back, leaving her with a large estate and a lonely heart. One afternoon, as we walked through her rose garden, she stopped and looked at me earnestly. Peter, I want you to know that you're not a replacement or a charity case. You're a brave young boy who deserves a chance at happiness. I hope with time you'll come to see this place as your home. Her words planted something inside me, a seed of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could have a future here, one filled with love and stability. But the story didn't end with just new beginnings. The past, as it often does, had one last twist to reveal. A few weeks after moving in with Robinson, I received an unexpected call from the police. They wanted to see me about the ongoing investigation into my father and Linda. At the station, an officer handed me a letter found among Linda's possessions. It was addressed to me from my mother. It had been hidden, kept away by Linda all these years. With trembling hands, I opened it. Inside, my mother wrote about her love for me, her hopes for my future, and her deep regret that she wouldn't be there to see it unfold. The letter shattered and healed parts of me I didn't even know needed mending. It was a piece of my past that Linda had tried to steal, but now it was mine, a connection to a mother I never knew. As the weeks turned into months, the court cases against Linda and my father proceeded. They were found guilty of fraud and child neglect. My father tried to reach out, to apologize, to reconnect, but for me, the path forward didn't include him, not yet. Forgiveness is a complex journey, and I wasn't ready to embark on it. Life with Robinson, or Margaret as I came to call her, was filled with the mundane and the magnificent. School, which had once been a distant dream, became a part of my daily routine. Margaret supported my studies, my explorations of new hobbies, and most importantly, she supported me in finding my way through the tangled emotions of my past. One evening, as Margaret and I sat watching the sunset from the porch, she turned to me and said, "Peter, all families are built differently. Some are formed by blood, others by bonds stronger than blood. We're the latter, and I couldn't be prouder." That moment, with the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, felt like the final piece of a puzzle being placed. The chaos of my past had led me to this tranquil present, and the future was a canvas waiting. And so, my friends, this is where my tale concludes, not with an end, but with a beginning. a beginning of a life once shadowed by deceit and neglect, but now illuminated by the promise of unconditional love and new discoveries. This is not just my story, it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of compassion. Thank you for walking this journey with me through the shadows and into the light.